Hey everyone, my name's Luke and welcome back to Dig Deeper. This guy is one of the associate pastors at St John's Church in Felbridge, which is in the southeast of England. This week we're looking at quite a precise tool called the author's comment or the narrator's comment tool. You should know that we're doing a series called Dig Deeper, where we get to know God better by understanding what He's said in the Bible. This one's surprisingly easy to miss as you go through the Bible. As you're reading it, it's quite easy not to notice that it's there. But it's going to be a really helpful one, particularly when we're thinking about the author's purpose. Often it's super valuable in helping us to understand what the author thought was most important. This is something that happens mostly in narrative, so where the author's telling a story. It might be in the Gospels, where we're getting stories about Jesus and what he did, or say the Old Testament histories, which is the story of God's people and what they got up to. The author's comment is when the author kind of inserts themselves into the story, if you like. They kind of interrupt the story they're telling to give you a bit of extra information. Obviously because they thought that information would be really important and that you'd need to know it to fully understand what was going on. So let me just fill you in here. The reason for all these pauses isn't to be cool or meta. This is meant to be an example of what I think the author's comment is. This is what I imagine the author's comment would be like in video form. I'm kind of interrupting the main flow of the video, the main story if you like, to give some extra information or some context or something that I think you need to know. I hope that's helpful and not just really annoying. This is usually because they think the details are really important. For example, they might do it with a place name and say, oh well, this place used to be called something different, and they want you to make sure that you've understood exactly where they're talking about. Or they might say, this other thing happened here. So for example, I might be telling you the next FIFA World Cup is going to be at Wembley Stadium. That was where England won the FIFA World Cup the first and only time. It's making sure that you see the significance of that comment. They might do it with names as well, where they explain what someone's name means, presumably because they think the detail is going to be really important to the story. For example, if I told you that this man was called Doug. Doug, obviously short for Douglas, but also the past tense of the word to dig. And that he's going to spend the rest of the story digging himself into a conversational hole. Or they might just comment on what's happening on the story, give you extra details or an explanation of what's going on so you don't miss it. You're going down, someone might say in a fight. Going down here not being like a place, but rather a euphemism for being beaten up. You can see that when an author interrupts themselves, usually it's because they think it's important to give you the extra information. And so obviously that's the sort of thing that we want to be paying close attention to. Why is this an important tool then? Well, it's a simple one, but it must be an important tool because the only reason the author's giving you this extra information is presumably because they think you might misunderstand it otherwise. They thought that this extra information was crucial for you understanding what they were trying to say in the story. You could imagine a film director doing what I've been doing throughout this video for a feature-length film. You would stop and pay attention and you might think, gosh, they really don't want me to misunderstand this point. If they're willing to step into their own story and break all of the flow and the immersion, this has to be something really crucial. And so for you and me, when we're trying to get to know what does the author want to say with this, this kind of information is absolute gold dust where you see it and you can get it. And at the end of the day, the reason why we want to find out that kind of stuff is because we want to think what God thinks. And we want to know what he thought was the most important details in the story. And that's why the author's comment tool can be so powerful and helpful. I'll see you again next week for our next tool. And bye from me too, although I don't think you'll see me again.